Hey everybody, so today I've got a what sold video for you as promised in my last video, and we've got some fun stuff that sold. It's like the towards the end of November is what we're talking about today. But before we get started, I wanted to thank a couple people who used the link down in my description for buy us a coffee. And first of all, I wanted to thank Judith, who bought us 3 coffees. And she left a nice message that talked about how she had started reselling about a year ago, and she likes our how to ship a mug video, and that helped her become brave enough to take the plunge to start selling online. Anyway, so she had some success stories that she shared with us as far as flatware, some Reed and Barton that she sold for good money, some hotelware cups and bowls, and that she sold to replacements.com, which was interesting. And then she also had some Limoges dishes. And then she opened a separate vintage pattern and fabric selling page on eBay last year, and it's going well. So I'm so excited for you, Judith, and I am so grateful for your support of the channel. And so thank you so much for those coffees. I had another nice message from Christy, who bought us a coffee, and she also started about a year ago, and she feels like my channel has helped her to gain her confidence. So I'm so excited about that, right? There's so much out there for all of us to work on, to share with each other. It's always a learning curve, and it's also something, even myself doing this for over 18 years or so, I'm always learning new things, right? Things are always changing. We're always pivoting and adjusting. So I'm glad our experience has been able to help you as well, Christy. So thanks so much for the coffee. So today, let's start with eBay. We're going to talk about some of the sales we had the week of November 18th through the 24th. I'm going to try something a little different today, and I am going to not use my camera. So we'll just try this out. I just want to see if, from a technical aspect, it records a little bit better than it has been doing lately. So we're just starting off with this 511 tactical style belt that we sold. I'm pretty sure it was an offer. Actually, no, I am wrong. They paid the full asking price of $38.99 plus shipping. And so that turned out to be a really good flip on that one. Even though we did have, it looks like we had best offer enabled on that one. Next up is this graphic t-shirt of Montana. It was a single stitch. You can see it says Montana there in the corner. I found a couple of these at an estate sale of an older woman. She had kind of some, a collection of different t-shirts, souvenir t-shirts back from the 80s or whatever. I don't know if they were hers or her husband's, but in any case, she had a couple one with wolves and things on it. So I picked up those, I think for about $3 a piece. And they did take a little while to sell. So they went a little slower than I expected. So this, like I said, I found it this summer or spring, and this one finally just sold for $23.99. It actually had free shipping on it. It was during a time when Mr. Pish Posh was playing around with free shipping on certain categories, which we've pretty much decided not to do that. We just don't like it. So... But speaking of estate sales, I had picked up this belt, if my computer will cooperate. Why, oh why. Okay, I think we got it working again. So I wanted to share this other find that I got from an estate sale. So I had noticed the design on the buckle, just the fact that the buckle looks so interesting on this leather belt. The belt was from a Montana company, but the belt, we figured out the name on the back. It was C. Solace. And so I found a buckle maker down in Argentina by that name, and he or she definitely does these types of style belts. So just kind of an interesting combination. It's got this like thistle design on this Montana belt. So I don't know what the connection all was to that or how they all found each other. But we just decided to, you know, there's not really comps for things like that. So we went ahead and put a high price on the belt, and we sold it within a few months for $125, the full asking price. Okay, we were still, during that end of November, still finishing up selling the Dansk Torin stainless flatware. So these were the last 2 teaspoons that sold for $60. And nope, I was wrong. I guess they bought the last 4 for about $120. So I was just looking at the quantity that actually sold in that particular transaction. So love that Dansk Torin. Would love to find another stash of that if I can. You guys will recognize this one. This was super exciting too. So if you remember my video where I went back to the thrift store, it was that rookie mistake video, I believe. And I think I was upset initially about the prices of the Edith Heath ceramics that they had there, the pottery and everything. But then, you know, I kind of came to my senses. I realized that the ladle I saw in the little grouping at the thrift store was actually worth a good amount of money, but I didn't remember what the thrift store had it priced at. So I went back to the thrift store to see if it was still there. Kind of had to wander the whole store, assumed it was gone, and then finally ended up finding it. So I ended up buying 2 pieces that day, a pitcher and this ladle, which didn't necessarily go together, but the thrift store had put them together. So I actually didn't pay too bad of a price. I think it was like $25 for both pieces. And the pitcher sold on Etsy a week or so ago before this for like 80 or 90, I think it was. And then this one sold for $140. So Edith Heath, I don't know necessarily that the ladle itself was marked, but the other pieces in that it was with was definitely marked. And now I know to look for ladles. You know, I didn't know a ladle would be necessarily one of the pieces of Edith Heath ceramics. Okay, another tool from Mr. Pish Posh. Now he's actually, we'll get around to sharing that one as well. But he did end up, we have another eBay shop, just a basic account, and we kind of got that one set up and going for Mr. Pish Posh to sell his Lego, some Lego, some tools, different things like that. And I think we mostly wanted to just do that separately because we are approaching 1,000 listings in our eBay store, which would require a bump up to the next selling level. And so he's doing either a basic store or no store at all over there for now. And we're kind of hovering usually around the 800 mark of listings in this store. And so we decided to kind of separate out some of those things into another store. That only Mr. Pish Posh, he just takes care of that one. So anyway, we'll share that once we get to the point where he's making sales from it. We have this drywall screwdriver screw gun tool. He sold for $69.99. Okay, then we sold this coffee mug. It was kind of a restaurant where I don't think it was necessarily, well, I don't know, maybe it was a little bit older, but it was Hofbrau was the name on it, the advertising, and that one sold for $16.99. I might have shared these in a thrift haul one time. Anyway, Rolodex refills. I think we talked about these in our office supply video. This was also free shipping when Mr. Pish Posh was experimenting, and I paid 99 cents for these Rolodex cards. Here's some more of the Dance Katoran that sold that week. So 4 salad forks sold for $50. Then, so it was interesting. I mentioned in a recent video that we realized, like, we've been selling mugs pretty well over on Etsy, and we realized some of the mugs that we had listed on eBay were not cross-posted over to Etsy. And so we did that, and then they would sell really quickly. Well, this was kind of the reverse situation where there was a few things that were on Etsy that weren't selling, and so we finally got them moved over to eBay, and then they sold. So sometimes you just never know. You know, that's why cross-posting can be so valuable, right? Okay, so this was a Colony Metalsmiths of Virginia or something like that. Anyway, it had an owl on the side. There weren't too many in solds for these, and so we listed it at $24.99, but then we took an offer or sent an offer or something like that for $20 is what it sold for. Sold this hat, picked it up fairly recently. I want to say that it was just at our little clearance store, but I know we picked it up. We picked it up recently, and I'm trying to remember where. And I just remember the fact that the last time we had one of these, we didn't like it. It looked like it should be worth more, but then it really wasn't worth a ton or something like that. So I kind of hesitated, but then, so I'm thinking it was the bins, because then I'd seen this like dry ice thing on it. I thought, well, maybe that makes some kind of difference. And it was in really, really good condition. So it sold really quickly for $24.99. So I'm glad I ended up picking that up after all. So these Starbucks mugs, they're kind of distinctive in their shape. I used to find them fairly often at our thrift stores in Washington. They're called like Aida. They're double wall. They have no handles. So they're kind of recognizable if you know them. These did sell for $34.99 for all three. We just decided to bundle them. You know, Starbucks isn't quite as exciting as it was back in the day. It's very, very, very specific, the items that will sell for really good money. This was an international sale, so that was kind of fun. Then I sold this yarn. This was part of the listing challenge, I think that first week of the listing challenge. And so this Lion brand yarn actually sold pretty quickly. I think at this point I had a 10% sale running. We had a couple days this week. I remember that we had like no eBay sales at all. So that does happen. It's not surprising if it does. But this one, you know, so whatever we sold it for, $12, $13, that's fine. But it was of the yarn that I listed that day. I didn't necessarily think it would go the quickest, but I guess it's a more recognizable company name brand, and at least there was 2 skeins of it, so people could do maybe a little bit more of a project with it. Okay, and then we sold this cool Cascade. It's a merino wool kind of base layer type shirt, and that sold for $39.99. So it had a couple things going for it. It had the cool name, and then it was also merino wool. It, you know, would have been maybe a little bit nicer if it was a larger size, but $40 is still a good deal. Then these pants actually surprised me. We've been working through some clothing backlog that we have. And so honestly, you know, Mr. Pish Posh is pulling stuff out. He's getting stuff listed, and a lot of it I vaguely remember buying. But I remember I have a hard time passing up anything with the vintage Banana Republic logo on it. You guys probably, you know, I don't know if you remember that logo, but it's just kind of funny to me when I see it. So these were made, as you can see, in the British Crown colony of Hong Kong. They were small. They said a size 8, but that's, you know, they were pretty tiny. But corduroy is really popular. And they just kind of had that. They were probably 80s, 90s. And I just thought, oh man, if they were bigger or if they were men's corduroy pants, you know, we'd do really well on these. But these got listed, and I want to say they sold like the same day. Like, we didn't price high on them at all. I've sold some of the vintage Banana Republic stuff, but it doesn't sell as fast, or as, like, people aren't looking for it as much as I think they're looking for it, if that makes sense. So anyway, this was $19.99, and it sold, like I said, probably like the same day we got them listed. So yeah, maybe I could have gone higher on that. I don't know. Okay, so that was it for eBay that week. Like I said, we just had a couple days with like no sales at all. Again, it was kind of an average week for sales that particular week. Looking over at Poshmark, Poshmark has slowed down for us big time, but this particular week we had a decent amount of sales. We had this Columbia. This was from Mr. Pish Posh's closet. He might have just gotten it at Costco one time, like when we first moved to Montana. I don't remember. It could have been before that. But anyway, $37 for just this thermal coil puffer jacket. He claims that I said at some point that I didn't like it, and I have no memory of such a thing. But anyway, he had decided to clean out his coat closet, and so he sold it. This is a pair of women's like hiking sneaker type shoe. The brand is Oboz, O-B-O-Z. Try to find where it says it. Cordura fabric. obozfootwear.com. Anyway, this was a nice price. Sold these for $50. You can see like the logo, the O with the little line over it, and then it's got the Oboz insoles in there. So in any case, it's a name, I guess, to kind of keep an eye out for. And on a side note, if you see the insoles like new in package, the insoles actually sell pretty well themselves too. Okay, another Poshmark sale were these kids mittens for $16. Is the season. People are looking. This was a Filson find that I found at Goodwill one day, and I think it was on a day where men's clothing was half off, so I was kind of surprised it was still there. We have it as is, just this basic Henley. As you can see, there was kind of damage right here on the collar, and I'm pretty sure that was from Goodwill sticking their stupid tags in a spot that they should not stick their tags, but that's just a pet peeve that's been going on for a while. Anyway, when I saw it at the store, I was going to pick it up anyway because it was Filson. But it was just kind of a basic Henley, so I wasn't quite sure how it would do. But it's, you know, they seem to have a following for those pieces. And so we still managed to get $30 for just kind of this basic Henley type long sleeve shirt. Then a nice price on this hat, Arches National Park Roadrunner, $25 for just this kind of souvenir snapback. Then one of my best sales on Posh, I was kind of surprised it went on Posh and not on eBay first, but this Conair hot lather machine has been a bolo for a while, and I saw it at a thrift store, and I hadn't found one in quite a few years. And a lot of times bolos come and go, right? Be on the lookout. Things that people are looking for, you know, that consistently sell for good money. And a lot of times companies either come out with a new one or something like that. So there's lots of reasons why bolos will die off. But I was happy to see that these were still going strong. So we opened it up, took a look. It didn't look like it had been used ever at all. And so it sold on Poshmark for $120. Now, Icebreaker, here's another one of those names that's good to know, to keep an eye out for. Merino wool is like selling really well this time of year especially. So this was just a vest, a woman's vest that I had picked up, and it sold for $33 probably within a week. This dress was by Susan Bristol. So it was like an 80s, I think 80s is what I had come up with. I put in the title, made in Hong Kong. So yeah, 80s is a good guess. But it just kind of had that cottagecore, teacher, kindergarten teacher kind of look to it. It had pockets, and it was a jumper. So I used the word modest as well in the title, and it took a while. It took a little longer than I expected, but it sold for $29. And then, sorry, once I got my computer unfrozen, all my pages are not in the spot they're supposed to be. This was just kind of a basic tooled brown leather belt that we picked up from somewhere. It had some writing on the inside, compliments of Montana trailer sales, right? Just handwritten on there. But what was kind of fun was the buckle had, the bucking bronco on there. So just kind of a basic Western belt, vintage Western belt, sold for $24. And then another belt to finish off the Poshmark sales, Bison Designs, nylon cinch belt. But it was kind of cool because it had this gecko design on it. So that was $28 for that belt. Over on Ruby Lane for that particular week, just one sale, but I was happy because it sold very quickly. This was a little canister, ceramic canister that we picked up on our road trip. And such a cute little design all the way around. Had a woman with a cat. I don't know why I didn't keep this, but you know what? I don't have good display options in my house right now, so I'm glad I moved it on to someone. But there's a whole canister set. This is just one of the pieces in the set, and it's made in Sweden. It's J.I.E. Gantofta, G.J. Gantofta. I've sold at least one piece by, I want to say her. I really should do. Oh, I can say her because Anita Nyland was the designer. Okay, let's just say that. I sold something by that company before. That was like a figurine of a woman. And so I recognized the name. And like I said, it has the designer name and what the series was and all that. Now I'm trying to remember. It was Our Small Town was the series of the canisters, but isn't that super cute? Oh my goodness. All right, so that sold for $36, but very quickly after I listed it. Moving over to Etsy, here's a mug that we sold on Etsy in Mr. Pish Posh's shop. I like to pick up these vintage souvenir mugs, especially when they're kind of the Western themes, or skiing, or outdoors, or things like that. So I knew the graphic on that would be really desirable to somebody, and so we sold that for $24.99. I picked these up for kind of like, I've talked about on my channel before that like we sell on Etsy. It's not our like favorite platform anymore. But there are definite things that I still kind of pick up with Etsy in mind. So this mug might sell on eBay. It might kind of get lost in eBay, but I've always done pretty well with this type of vintage souvenir mug on Etsy for pretty good prices. So $25 for that mug. The other thing we sold on Etsy that week was this hat. It was a military beret from Denmark. You can see the inside still had some paper in it and everything like that. So it was new with tags, and that sold for $35. And then also we always pick up Turkish coffee pots, things like this, butter warmers, whatever you want to call them. In all different styles. We do the colorful enamel ones, we do these brass and copper ones, and this one sold for $24.99. Over in the pattern shop, I sold this Vogue bridal original for $15 from the 80s, as well as this costume pattern for $24, which was a Civil War style gown, and this Vogue kind of wrap dress style, $16 for that pattern. And these with the red background are the ones my son helped me with during that month. So it's nice to see. And he's still actually making drafts for me. Not to the extent he was during November, but still he's keeping me trying to be consistent and getting some new patterns into the shop, because patterns have been selling fairly well. Now over on Depop, I mentioned how Poshmark has died for me. Depop's even worse. So anyway, but back then we had 4 sales that week on Depop, and one of the items we sold was this hat. Now it's so funny when I find a hat at the bins at our clearance store, which I've got to talk to you guys about our clearance store because it's changed. So I have to, I've taken some footage and I need to share that with you soon. But anyway, back when I was in the old one and I looked at their little bin of hats, it was like when I pulled this one out, I just knew it was a winner, right? Like, it's hard to explain, but we've got a date on it. It's the Northern Rockies, and it's got a llama on it. And so, you know what? There was just so many things about this that I knew somebody was going to want. So anyway, it sold on Depop for $25, I think is the offer that we ended up taking. Then over on Depop, we moved a couple of things that have been listed on eBay for a while. So this kind of faux suede and fleece vest by Ralph Lauren actually just sold for $21, but we were happy to move that along. And then this skirt sold for, I think, $22. I had found 2 of these. They were called Carefree Fashions from the 70s, and they were just very boho looking style. Let me see if I have a picture of the tag. Here we go. Scottsdale, Arizona, Carefree Fashions. The other one I had sold very quickly on eBay, but this one has just been sitting for a long, long time. So it was just one of those situations where I just kind of refreshed all the listings and I delisted and relisted on Depop, and then I had a taker within a few days. So sometimes that's necessary to do. And Vendoo kind of makes that easy because you can see what's listed where, and you can just do a quick delist, relist straight from Vendoo itself. And then everything stays linked together for when the item sells. You can mark it sold on Depop and it'll delist from all the other sites as well. So $22 on that. I was happy about that. And then again, we've had this hat for a really long time. I can't remember if it was sold and returned or if it was sold and then canceled and never got relisted. But I just noticed all of a sudden a listing for it on eBay. And I think Mr. Pish Posh came across it and realized it was no longer listed on eBay. So he redid the listing. I crossed it over to Depop. And then it sold. Like it could have sold a long time ago if we had actually had it listed. But anyway, I don't think it was $24, but it might have been, I think it was $18 is what it sold for. And that was it for our sales for that week. Okay, so that was that. So that was, about a month ago. I'm always trying to catch up on these what sold videos, but also give you guys other content as well. But I probably will throw another what sold video out sometime later this week to just kind of do better at keeping caught up with those videos. Mr. Pish Posh and I tomorrow actually have a day where we are planning on doing some thrifting together. Our kids are going to be with friends snowboarding, and we very rarely have this chance to kind of spend the day together. We'll probably go out to eat. It's amazing, right? And so we'll hit some thrift stores and stuff like that. So let me know if you guys want a thrifting video, kind of like a thrift haul or something like that. We haven't done anything like that in a little bit, and I don't know what we're going to find. We're trying not to go crazy with our spending, but just kind of fun to get out there and see what we can find. We also, like I referenced in the video, and I have taken some footage already, but our famous clearance center, I end up calling it the bins all the time, but it's like our clearance store outlet center for our local thrift company. They just moved into a new building. So our outlet store before was teeny tiny, and they moved into this nice big spacious area. Lots of parking. Honestly, there were days I would go to the clearance store and like just leave because there was no place to park. And so now there's good parking. They're doing the clothing on conveyor belts. It's by the pound now, because if you guys remember, we used to just kind of pile things on the counter and they'd go, $3, $5, whatever. They kind of make up a price on the spot. So things have changed a little bit. So, you know, I'm sure we're going to hit that tomorrow. We'll just see if there's anything good there. And maybe a couple of other ones here in town. But I for sure can share maybe a little thrifting video with you guys tomorrow. Now, let me know how you guys are doing. Let me know if you've sold anything awesome or found anything awesome recently. And if you're just kind of chilling at this point and, you know, taking time with family, enjoy all that time. And we're just going to keep going with our kind of usual business and sharing videos here and there. If you have time to watch them, great. If not, you can get caught up later. Thank you guys so much for all of your support, and we will talk to you soon.